And I think the theme for that panel, and maybe the theme for the night, is commitment. Right? So, Ramiro Rubalcaba at Garfield High School, and I know some of the kids have to get going. It's getting late for them. But at Garfield High School, they made a commitment to take suspension off the table. I worked for 9 years in the Oakland Unified School District, and I've never heard of a school that would even consider that. But that's commitment, and that comes from the adults. It's not about the kids' behavior. It's about the adults' behavior on campus, and I think that's fascinating. I know that Tia Martinez, had she been able to continue with her presentation, was going to highlight other schools where when their suspension rates went down, their API scores went up, okay? When you keep those kids that you think you need to kick off campus, on campus, you improve your API scores, your achievement scores. That means it's better for everybody. And I thought that was really fascinating. It was a great panel. So let's give that panel one more round of applause, please. I would next like to bring up and introduce Judge Groman. The Honorable Judge Donna Groman is supervising judge of the Kenyon Juvenile Justice Center, a juvenile delinquency court in South Los Angeles. Judge Groman is a member of the Council of State Governments and on the California Blue Ribbon Commission on Foster Care and School Discipline. So please come on up, Judge Groman. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a real pleasure being here this afternoon, and I want to thank you all for this opportunity. The next panel is about solutions. There are solutions out there. Other people have done it, and we are going to do it. We have very willing partners here in Los Angeles County, including the school police. And I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of entities that are very willing to put their heads together to make a change, because these statistics are embarrassing, and I think it's embarrassing to everybody. So we are going to start with a 5-minute video which discusses solutions from youth and leaders across the state. After that, we're going to hear from 2 students who are here today, and then we will move forward with the panel.
Well, before I go to what I wanted to say, I just want to say these are the one steps we want to first take to move forward to a better future for my generation and for my generation of my little sister. So, hello, my name is Lester. I'm a senior at Esteban Torres High School. I am a member of InnerCity Struggle. I'm also part of the Brother Sons South Coalition. I had a rough start like many of the boys in the East Los Angeles and Los Angeles overall. I've seen the challenges young people and low-income families face in this struggle. I grew up in a single-parent home. My mother struggled to pay the bills, even though she worked very hard. And since I'm the oldest in the family, I have felt tremendous responsibility for my little sister. Some of my frustrations at home have extended to my school life. For one example, in the 6th grade and overall my middle school years, I had a lot of fights. I had many disputes over my classmates, but I was very lucky. I was very lucky because I had a counselor that she cared for me. She did not take the easy route. She sent me to anger management, and this opened the opportunity for my great potential she looked at. I had an experience with school discipline that is not very common with my peers across the country, and especially in LDSD. There are so many of my peers that have the same potential as me. They have the potential to go to college, to get a well-paying job. But because of zero-tolerance policies in our schools, they're being pushed out. For example, in East Los Angeles High School, East Los Angeles community, over 9% of the middle school and high school students surveyed by InnerCity Struggle have said they want to attend college. They want to attend college, and you don't see that. And the data presented by OCR shows a different story. The thing is, students of color in LAUSD are suspended more than their white peers. In other words, students of color in our neighborhoods are not receiving the right support systems they need to ensure to go to college or get a well-paying job. We need to change this. We need to look at solutions of positive behavior support models for all our schools. As students leaders in our communities, we're working on solutions to address zero tolerance policies in our schools. At Roosevelt High School, as you've seen, InnerCity Struggle, United Students, and parents have already been working with teachers, principals to implement a successful you-led framework. What does this mean? It means that this is a plan the whole community has been building together over the years. We need to see this not just happen in Boyle Heights. This happens all across the country. We need adults to stand with us, invest in our school environment that is based on dignity, equity, and racial justice. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Leslie Mendoza. I'm 17. I'm a student at Free LA High School and a youth organizer at the Youth Justice Coalition. I'm speaking today in place of Veronica Martinez. On Thursday, she was arrested at a rally to protest LA County Sheriff Lee Spacca cooperation with Immigration and Customs Enforcement to check the immigration status of everyone detained in county jails regardless of how small their charges, which had led to LA to deport more people than any other county. No matter what, we all as teenagers aren't given much support in the public school world. Here's my story. I started out as a freshman at Hamilton High School. One day in my algebra class, the teacher moved me to the front of the desk because the group I was sitting with was joking around. There was a dirty gym shirt on this table, so I moved it to her desk. She got mad and she threw the shirt in my face and kicked me out of class when I complained. I read the referral before I gave it to my counselor. Defiance. I thought to myself, what does defiance even mean? Willful defiance is the #1 reason why California schools used to suspend students, 46% of all suspensions last year. As students, we were never told what defiance meant or any other rules of the school. When my sophomore year began, I felt like none of the teachers could help us because there were too many students. My guidance counselor called me in to tell me that I was behind on my credits and there was a high chance I wasn't going to graduate. She didn't refer me to any tutoring or any other supports. At the end of my 10th grade year, Hamilton kicked me out due to insufficient credits and said I couldn't come back in the fall. Going to the YJC was one of the best choices I've made. The teachers help me with my work. They actually care. We also get credits to improve our community and change unjust laws that affect youth. Already in a few months, I've been to Sacramento many times to end the school to jail track and give youth sentenced to life without parole a second chance. Met with the school police chief to limit them handcuffing and frisking students outside of schools and to reduce ticketing and eliminating fines. I've spoke many times before the board of supervisors to give people coming home from juvenile halls and prisons their IDs, metro passes, transcripts, and access to school. Our school uses transformative justice, peace builders, and positive behavior supports instead of police, suspensions, expulsions, and arrest. Even though we have more than 20 rival neighborhoods attending the school and are surrounded by 4 communities with high levels of violence and homicide, these practices have enabled us to maintain a safe school and build greater safety in our surrounding environment. But very few students who get pushed out have any of these options. Most of the schools in Black and Latino communities, even elementary schools, are built to look like and operate like prisons. Some of the architects who build prisons also build our schools. We are surrounded by high fencing, razor wire, security gates, and metal detectors. We get searched in our classrooms and hallways by police and drug-sniffing dogs. Most of the schools have probation officers and guidance counselors. Police and other school staff often use language, actions, and police that are racist, homophobic, anti-immigrant, and sexist to increase tensions and violence against individuals and between groups. Our school newspapers are censored. We have very little or no say in the running of our schools or the choosing of the curriculum. We still get a whitewashed version of history, language, and the culture that adds our anger out of the school and to conflict between races and neighborhoods. And when people are arrested, they are often unfairly and illegally kicked out without a hearing, expelled from entire school districts, or blocked from returning to school when they return from lockup without being given a real educational options. We have to push schools to educate all students, not just the youth that are problem-free. We need college prep, not prison prep. Education is a right. We shouldn't have to fight. Thank you.
We want education.
What's that? Yeah, I know. All right. I used to do that when I was in high school. It was about the Vietnam War, though. Hell no, we won't go. I want to thank Lester and Leslie. You're absolutely fabulous. Thank you. And we're going to start our panel now. Our panel focusing on solutions consists of the following: Louis Freedberg, Executive Director of EdSource; Laura Fair, the Statewide Educational Rights Director of Public Counsel; MaryJane Skjellerup, Senior Director of Programs, Central Valley Youth Leadership Institute. Manuel's not coming up? Oh. I do that all the time in court. Manuel Criollo, Director of Organizing Community Rights Campaign and the Labor Community Strategy Center; and Curtis Saricki, Associate Superintendent of the Oakland Unified School District. Welcome, everybody, and we're going to start with Louis Freedberg.
I'm going to present to you in 5 minutes the nuggets of a statewide survey that EdSource did of school officials. I think, as we heard from the previous presentation, nothing is going to happen unless it's the school officials who actually do it. School official, doesn't matter what Washington does or what community groups, it does matter, but ultimately it's the school officials that are going to have to implement these policies. So we surveyed 315 school districts representing 4 million students throughout the state. And I think you'll see that in some of our findings there are nuggets of solutions. First of all, what we found was that 70% of districts around the state have revised their discipline policies in the last 5 years. That means that the discipline policies are not carved in stone, that they are open to change. And 10% of school districts in California are currently revising their policies. In addition, we found that school officials report a great deal of concern about school discipline policies. In other words, they're not saying we don't care about that, but in terms of the range of concerns they have, school discipline ranks fairly high. And 2/3 report a concern about the disproportionate impact that these policies are having on students of color. We particularly focused on willful defiance and disruption of school activities. And we asked officials whether the district had clear-cut or clear district-wide definitions of those categories. And what we found, as you will see, no, 70% said they did not have clear definitions. And then what was somewhat hopeful, we asked them, would they like to have clear definitions? And they said, yes, indeed. As you will see, it would be very helpful. 55% said it would be helpful, and another 30% said somewhat helpful. Again, encouraging response. We also wanted to find out what kinds of alternative policies, approaches were in place in school districts across the state. And what we found was about 35% said they had the positive behavior interventions and supports. But you'll see only 16% had it in all their schools. The other strategies were student-based conflict resolution strategies like peer mediation, student courts, and so on, but in 8% of schools. Social emotional learning, 3%. Restorative justice in only 3% of all schools. 6% said in all or most of their schools. And then good behavior game, bringing up the pack with about 5% in most schools or all schools. But then there were dozens and dozens of other programs that school districts were using across the state. We don't really know how effective they are, but it's clear that in many, many school districts, schools are trying to do something to turn the tide. How effective those approaches are is a whole nother question. We also asked them how adequate they felt the community resources were. About 25% of school districts said that they frequently turn to community resources, which is not that high. But one of the reasons is you can see only 8% said the community resources in the district were very adequate. Another 41% said somewhat adequate. So there's an issue. Are the resources inadequate? Do they know about all the resources? And of course, because of all the budget cuts in California, we know that community resources are being strained to the maximum. We also looked at district use of police. We found that only 10% of school districts in California had their own police force, and 2/3 had school resource officers. Finally, we wanted to find out what they would use. What would school officials, what are their highest needs if they had additional resources? You will see that increased security was pretty low down on the list. 26% rated that as a high priority. But the biggest priority was hiring additional counselors. You'll see next, providing school staff training, wraparound services, conflict resolution programs. So the need was not for more services. So we have the full results of our survey. We have the chart pack out front, and please feel free to pick those up when you leave. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing? Good? Good, great. My name is MaryJane Skjellerup, and I'm the Senior Director of Programs at the Youth Leadership Institute in Fresno, California. I'm here on behalf of the youth leaders of Project Success, which stands for Students United to Create a Climate of Engagement, Support, and Safety. Our young people would be here today, but unfortunately they're in school till about 3 o'clock, so they were unable to kind of magically teleport to LA, but we're working on that. Today, I will share with you how students are taking it upon themselves to learn about and transform our school discipline system. Success is a unique youth and adult partnership composed of high school students and staff from 5 youth development organizations. We believe that young people are the leaders of today, not tomorrow, but today, right here, right now, and we work in equal partnership to support them as they lead our community towards powerful change. Look, our goal is simple: to keep kids in school and on target to graduate. To do this, like all good students, first we did our homework. We found that in the Fresno Unified School District, students were missing over 32,000 school days a year due to suspension, and I mentioned that in the video. When students miss school, they are more likely to fall behind, drop out, and yet here we have a school policy that is actively creating absenteeism. We also saw that many of these students are young boys of color and children, really. Since almost half of expulsions are children under the age of 12. Children. Youth in our success team wanted to know why this was happening. So they conducted focus groups with students, teachers, administrators, and parents. And this is what they heard. First, students felt that their voices are silenced. They don't feel like they have a chance to explain why they struggle with behavior problems. And they feel like adults do not have nor take the time to listen, and students so desperately want to be heard. Second, students want to be able to learn from their mistakes, and they truly believe that they can be part of the solution. Third, students want to be connected with the right help and supports for their problems. Students feel like there are many opportunities and programs on their campus, but they are confused and overwhelmed, and often do not know where to begin to find the right fit for their particular needs. Finally, students want to succeed in school. I want to emphasize that not once did we hear a young person say that he or she wanted to fail, drop out, and enter the criminal justice system. Not a single one. So, after we finished our research, our young people wanted to connect with their peers and share what they had learned. They held a conference to highlight these problems and to begin exploring solutions. Working with Fresno Pacific University, the students found a restorative justice intervention called Discipline That Restores. They decided to endorse this model because it directly addressed the issues that were brought up in their research. not because somebody told them to or because, that they had made some friends with people at the university. They really wanted to make sure they found a solution that directly addressed the concerns that they heard. One thing, it allows a real opportunity for student voices to be heard. They can tell their side of the story, and school officials can learn more about how to help them. Number two, it allows students to pinpoint specific problem behaviors and realize how these behaviors affect other students and teachers. They can be held accountable and learn from their mistakes. Where before they were labeled as bad kids, they can now focus on improving their particular bad actions. Number three, students, both victims and offenders, are required to work together with school staff and their parents to create a plan to make things right. We know this works because our local juvenile justice courts use this system and have decreased recidivism rates. And number four, this model helps ensure victims are able to have their needs addressed comprehensively and improves relationships on campus. So, once our success team endorsed this transformative approach to school discipline, they wanted to lift up youth voice and demand that Fresno Unified leadership take action. When the district decided to convene a local graduation task force, Success Youth and adult allies were there on the task force to ensure over 600 students were interviewed as part of the process. When fellow task force members heard directly from students who were struggling with attendance, discipline, and were not progressing towards graduation, then they realized that they had to do something to address punitive discipline as a pathway to dropping out. Simply hearing from the youth themselves, we were able to educate our other community leaders to take this on as an important issue. This June, our success team celebrated a huge win as more than 100 students came out to demonstrate their support when the school board accepted the task force recommendations to implement a more restorative discipline system. What I've shared with you today is a small example of the powerful change that can occur when we lift up youth voice and leadership in our community. Project Success, we have a long way to go to ensure these student voices are actually honored and that restorative discipline is faithfully implemented. And we'll be working hard over the next year to organize students and parents to make sure that we hold our school district accountable. However, we know that if we continue to allow our young people to lead the way and truly listen to youth voice, we will continue to learn how to truly and actually help all of our students stay in school and on target to graduate. Thank you for letting me share our story and the story of our young people.